All right, folks. This one is a bit different than normal, at least what I have been or have done in the past to a certain extent. I mean, it is a reaction to something happening in the news, two events actually, but it's not a news story where I'm going to be looking at specifics. It's really just something that's come to my mind, and honestly, I'm not 100% sure of this, but it makes a certain amount of sense. In the last 48 hours, we've had two tragic shootings in states that typically don't see them: Texas and Ohio. And if you follow me on Twitter, you know that while I am a Second Amendment activist, I do not condone any criminal acts. I abhor criminals who target the innocent. And personally, had I been there, yes, I would have acted to try to put the shooter down, not anything else. And there are millions like me out there, no matter how much we're mocked, no matter how much we're told we're liars, no matter how much we're told we're enablers, we are not. I've flat out said, if I'm put in a situation where I have to pull my weapon and take aim and fire on an active shooter, it will probably break me psychologically to have to do that to a human. But I'll do it because they're targeting innocent lives and they need to be stopped. In both situations, police responded very, very quickly, and still the shooters had time because they know police are not everywhere. But here's something very interesting that came to mind. Actually, my mother made a comment that resonated a bit. These two shootings have happened in very deep red states. We are just a little over a year from a presidential election where it is quite literally Orwellian socialist rule versus freedom. Every Democrat at the debates recently and in the debates prior to that and on Twitter and everywhere else they go has virtually the same message. You will give up your guns, we will raise your taxes, we will undo all of the good that's been done for this country in the last couple of years, and you will obey us. Kamala Harris has outright said she will give Congress 100 days to pass a bill she tells them to pass, or she'll just do it and take away citizens' rights. Eric Swalwell famously told an American who says, I won't give up my Second Amendment rights. Swalwell said, well, we have nukes. Everyone else on the stage has promised Medicare for all, has promised every socialist program they can think of they think will get them votes. And when they're called out on it, they accuse you of being a racist or a sexist or a ignorant Trumpian. And no one seems to want to call them out on it because the vast, and by vast I truly mean that vast majority of media agree with them. And even Fox News is telling their people to tread lightly because they don't want to basically just be shot out of business by liberals threatening every sponsor and every advertiser they have into pulling the plug. And it's amazing to me, honestly, that none of this really ever gets talked about. We, as a country, are living in, pardon me, very unique times, a very unique subset of history. You see, those of you who are Christian or who have studied the Revelation prophecy, you know things are going to get exponentially worse virtually every day of that time of history until the end. There will be wars and rumors of wars. There will be famine, pestilence. There will be death. There will be violence. And this is very simply because in that time, the forces of evil, Satan and his minions, who, if you truly read the Bible, they've not been cast into hell yet. Yes, they can be by someone, but as a whole have not. It's not until they are cast into the lake of fire during the Revelation judgment that happens. So these are beings that know they have no chance of ever entering heaven, and misery loves company. So they are doing all they can to foment hate, to foment violence, and everything else, to take as many with them as they can. We have people on this planet, we have people in this country who hate people so much for not obeying them, they will kill you. I have personally been told I should die because I will not vote Democrat. I have been physically attacked because I would not tell someone that a non-racist argument was racist and then beg them for forgiveness. That happened 20 years ago, almost. It's not a new thing, it's just new in its intensity. The plain and simple fact, though, is that criminals will never obey the law. And you need only look at countries that have disarmed their citizenry to see this. After Christchurch, New Zealand said they would ban all assault weapons, and so far they're looking at banning more firearms. They're looking at banning all firearms in any way they can because the initial act did not work. Look at the United Kingdom, where basically you have to jump through countless hoops to be allowed to own a firearm, and violence is still a thing. For crying out loud, we have people actively calling for GPS tracking of knives in London. They put out bins on the street to dump your knives because knife violence is a thing they're trying to end. The point that I'm trying to make is that it's not knife violence, it's not gun violence, it's not tire iron violence, it's not 2x4 violence, it's not car violence, it's not bomb violence. It is violence. It is an evil, twisted soul that wants to injure and kill others by any means necessary. If it was only firearms, we would not have had the Boston Marathon bombing. You would not have stabbings out of control in London. You would not have had acid attacks in the, I believe, Japanese subway. It may have been Chinese, I don't remember 100%. We would not have beatings, hangings. We would not have anything but shootings. And that's the one thing that liberals ignore. It is not the inanimate object summoning a demon from hell to possess the body of the person who touched it to kill. It is an evil person who is hell-bent on committing violence. And they will do whatever they can, whatever they must, to do so. The other part is, and I've been accused of being an ignorant Republican Trumpian who just argues semantics so many times, I don't even really read those comments anymore. But the AR platform rifle is not an assault weapon. It never has been under any form of an assault weapons ban. You see, in 1994, the ban looked at select fire and automatic weapons. There are 3 classifications of a rifle when you look at those. There is semi-automatic. There technically are 4 because we have bolt action, but those are lumped in with all other non-semi-automatic weapons. But we have semi-automatic weapons. You pull the trigger once, I don't care if you super glue that down for the rest of eternity. It will never fire another shot until you fully release the trigger and then action it again. If you've watched Demolition Ranch, he actually owns a Modus. I believe it's a Modus. It's a tripod-based weapon that is belt-fed. And his has been modified to be semi-automatic. You have to push that button all the way in and let it all the way back out to fire again. That is semi-automatic. There are shotguns that are semi-automatic. Jerry Michalek very recently put out a video where he fires 23 shots in under 4 seconds. I believe it's, when you account for all the beep to first shot and all that, it's under 4 seconds for 23 shots, all on target. And he pulled the trigger 23 times. It's not automatic fire. It's just not. And it is not semantics. It is a willing ignorance of the truth that is used to control people. There are select fire weapons. Now, these are by and large illegal for civilian use and ownership, although you can pay through the nose to get the right licensing and stamps to own them. These are where you have an option for safe, semi-automatic, 3-shot burst is the typical third setting, or fully automatic. Fully automatic meaning you hold the trigger and it fires till you're out of bullets. That is a select fire weapon. All of my firearms have one setting: safe and fire. Sorry, 2 settings. Because there is no select. It is pull the trigger, it fires once. That is a 22 long rifle, that is a 9mm, that is any other pistol on the market. That is my shotgun, one of them I've had in the last 30 years. That is any rifle I've ever owned. I've never owned, and I personally don't want an automatic weapon because it is a waste of ammunition and it is just destroys your accuracy. But that is what select fire is. You have 4 selections on your safety switch. There are also automatic weapons. Now, typically these are like a Sten gun, very famously used in World War II. These are very cheaply produced, very quickly produced automatic 9mm weapons that were used by the British because they couldn't get our Thompsons because we had them. The very famous MAC-10 and Uzi from the LA gang riots, things like that. Those, illegal. And none of them are sold at gun shops. They're not sold at gun shows. They're sold in a back alley for cash because they're illegal. And this is what the anti-gun left, one of a few things, they will never admit. They know that passing more laws will only affect the law-abiding. Now, yes, there are instances where someone crosses state lines to, quote-unquote, legally purchase a rifle. What everyone ignores is that the second they cross back into the state they left, they commit a felony. If we look at the Garlic Festival, the Gilroy shooting, the AK-47 rifle he bought in Nevada is illegal in California. The 30-round magazines he had, illegal in California. Everything about that crime happened at the border between Nevada and California. Yet no one looks at that. They want to say because Nevada doesn't enforce California laws, then it's legal to do all this. No, it's not. If you leave Illinois and go to Indiana, buy an AR-15 and take it to Chicago to your home, you've broken the law. If you leave Texas, cross into Mexico, buy a fully automatic weapon, cross back into Texas, you've broken the law. It doesn't work. And it never will. You could outlaw every gun on the planet. You could send jackbooted brown shirt thugs to every home in America to rip the house apart and seize every gun they have. And criminals would still have them. Because criminals hide them where police don't look. You see, one, criminals never purchased them legally. They didn't pass a background check. So even without registration, they can go back and say, well, you passed a background check last year. That must mean you own a weapon. We're going to come to your house and search. Meanwhile, the drug dealer in South Central LA that bought his out of a car trunk in the middle of the night, they don't have anything. They have only the fact that he has been arrested a few times. But they don't have an address for him. They don't have anywhere to go search. Nothing. So it will do nothing but create more victims. What we need is better enforcement of the law. One, mass shooting, in my book, should be a death penalty. And with the technology we have, it would be childishly easy to say, well, here's video of you shooting people at this location. And you're not being fired on, so you're not defending your life. Oh, look, here's video of you confronting police and aiming a weapon at them because they're trying to stop you. That should be a death penalty in my mind. At the very least, life in prison without the possibility of parole, no parole hearings, nothing. You spend the rest of your life in a small cell or you die quickly. If you have so little respect for human life that you're going to take it, you should lose yours. Very simple. Number two, we need to stop the 24/7 sensationalization of these shootings. Okay? This is not a new phenomenon. Pardon me. Murder and crime is not something that only started happening in the digital age. I don't remember mass shootings happening in the early to mid to late 1980s, but we didn't have cable news. CNN, MSNBC, Fox, all those stations, they didn't really happen until the George H.W. Bush presidency. And even then, it started so slowly that it really didn't take hold until the very late 90s. But if we would stop sensationalizing this crap, the I want attention losers who do this crap for attention would stop. Think back to elementary and middle school. Think back to your time when you had that one kid in class who would constantly make himself pass gas, make himself burp, make other noises, try to make people laugh, and how it only got worse when he got punished. When the teacher would call that person out, they would act out more. If the teacher ignored them and the class ignored them, yes, they would get worse for a short time, and then they would take one of two avenues. They would get violent or they would get sulky. 95% or more would sulk. They don't care, good or bad. They want attention. And that's the crowd that ends up either crossing state lines to purchase a weapon that is illegal to take back into their state, so they commit a felony the moment they cross the border, or they commit a crime to steal someone's weapon to commit a crime with. If we had better enforcement of the law, if we had better enforcement of laws against those who are dealing drugs, who are making drugs, as opposed to the little petty nothing sentences that the users get, if we had better options for treatment of addiction instead of, well, you go to jail because you get high. One question Kamala Harris will not answer. She very famously has said that she did enforce laws about marijuana during her time as California Attorney General. Incarceration for use of marijuana, possession of it, was very high during those times. Then, very famously, very recently, she admits she smoked marijuana during college, although she was listening to music that hadn't been released yet. If we would treat people for addiction, if we would treat them for that, get them off of the drugs, and go after the ones making and distributing them, if we would close the flipping border so that the fentanyl and the other drugs couldn't come across as easily, you'd be surprised how quickly you see violence drop at a commensurate rate. And yes, I know people are going to say a lot of the drugs come in over authorized border crossings. Well, one, that's a lot of the drugs we catch. I can very easily say that most of the people who came into my house to kill me came in through the front door because I saw that. But what happens if twice as many came in through a window and shot me in the back and I never saw them? The simple fact of that is we don't know how much is actually getting across our border until we catch it in the States. And then there's no proof that it came from Mexico or Guam or Canada or wherever. If we would do these simple things to enforce the laws on the books, as opposed to passing new laws that will never be enforced other than Democrats' tyrannical give up your guns plan, you'd be surprised how quickly things change. But you see, Democrats and liberals the world over know that they will never rule the planet without using violence and criminal activity to say we need more laws, we need more laws, we need more laws. Well, none of those worked. We're just going to rule you with an iron fist. Look at Kamala. Look at Swalwell, Warren, Sanders, Buttigieg, any of them. You strip away the rhetoric and phrasing, and all of them have the exact same message. Give up your guns, pay high taxes, obey me. That is the message of every Democrat running for president. We will see nothing but using of any tragedy they can to demand you obey them. And if they actually get their way, this country as we know it is gone. And I, for one, don't want to see that. The fact of the matter is, you're not going to change the hearts of evil people. You're never going to convince evil people to stop being evil. You lock them away or you put them down, fast and hard. It's cold, it's callous, it's the way things are. Just like you don't convince a terrorist in the middle of a firefight in Ramadi or anywhere else in the Middle East to stop being a terrorist. You put them down, fast and hard. And that's the long and short of it. We need to stop pussyfooting around, and we need to tell the police, if it's an active shooter, put them down, fast and hard. Police are still going to think the same thing I would think if forced to draw my weapon. What's behind my target? Active shooters don't care what's behind their target. Police and law-abiding citizens do. But if you tell them put them down fast and hard, you're going to get that to happen. And these active shooters, if we quit broadcasting every aspect of their story over the news for a week or more, they're going to say, well, I'm just going to die in ignominy. And yeah, there are still the evil beings out there who would not care, but we would see a change. We would see some others stop this crap. If we started saying, you have been convicted of mass murder via a mass shooting. You have 3 weeks until you die. Maybe if there was actually consequences for their actions that wasn't infamy in the news and a jail sentence until they're released into a mental care institution that will do nothing. Look at Nicholas Cruz. That young man was in a counseling and mental health facility, I don't even know how many times. They utterly failed. So, it needs to be, you go to jail. You never go out. You never get out. Period. Or, you have 3 weeks, and then you'll meet your maker. If we started actually enforcing our laws logically, you'd be surprised how many people would say, I think I'm just going to fade away. I'm not going to be a good person, but I'm not going to do anything to get that government looking at me. But it's never going to happen. And the reason it's never going to happen is the tyrants in power and the tyrants who want power, they're not satisfied with just putting criminals away. They want to completely and totally subjugate the planet. They always have to start with their own country. But now look at how many countries are under complete subjugation. Virtually, anyway. New Zealand. They can kick in your door anytime if they think you have a gun. UK. We're going to start tracking your knives. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take to wake people up. And I really pray that what it takes is not the one thing they can't change. You see, 243 years ago, 240 odd years ago, King George sent his thugs in uniform to Lexington and Concord and told the American colonists, give up your guns. And in a sense of it, they said you could have them bullets first. And we fought a bloody war for independence. And we won. 240 odd years later, the American government is telling American citizens, give up your guns. I really hope that common sense prevails. Because the people telling you to give up your guns are guarded by fully automatic weapons. They're guarded by men so heavily armed that they make some infantry soldiers jealous. They live behind walls while telling you a wall is racist. They cheat on their taxes to pay as little as possible while telling you that loopholes are bad. They tell you not to drive cars or fly in planes while they drive SUVs and take private jets all over the country. You see, they tell you to do all these things that they're unwilling to do. And it's time we told them, go home. Next year is going to be the telling point. And honestly, I don't know which way it's going to go. But I honestly won't be surprised if we get one of these idiots trying one of these idiot mass shootings that says, well, the Democrats aren't winning, and I need to teach these Trumpians that they'll die if they don't vote Democrat. You have to vote Democrat or more of this will happen. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them admits they're doing it because Democrats aren't enforcing the laws, and they want Democrats to enforce the laws, and they want this, and they want this, and they want this, that only Democrats are going to do. I'm not going to be surprised when one of these whack jobs actually admits that they did it to make you vote Democrat. And I won't be surprised when Democrats use that. Because we're not too far away. No, for those who want to go completely insane, I'm not blaming Democrats for any of this. I blame them for what they've actually done or what they've actually said. But what I said is I won't be surprised when one of these whack jobs actually does something illegal to say, well, see, like the Democrats said, we need a law. I did it, and it's illegal, but I could still do it. There's not much further to go before the end of the rope. And there's a knot in the end, but it's quickly fraying away. And when we get to the end, we're going to fall off. And the only question is, are you going to be pushed off, quiet and docile, or are you going to go out fighting for your freedom? My ancestors and yours had that choice 240 odd years ago. And in a very short span of human history, we now have the same choice. Thankfully, though, we get to make that choice at the ballot box. At least we do still. The question is how much longer that's going to be allowed. Anyway, I'm going to sign off for now. I'm still trying to figure out how to do a couple of series I want to do. Like I said, when I look at certain subjects, I'm a perfectionist, so they're coming. I just don't know when. Until next time, you guys have a good day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and comment. Let me know what you think. Just remember, keep it civil. This is actually not a debate in my mind. But I will tell you, I don't care which side of the argument you're on. If you personally attack someone, if you start calling names, if you start insulting, if you start any of that crap, I'll block you from the channel quick. Civil discussion is fine. Passionate civil discussion is fine. When you begin hurling insults and threats, you prove to be a mental toddler who doesn't deserve to be allowed to speak. It's very simple. Until next time, you guys have a great day.